Hi, welcome back to Low Life Machining. My name's Chad Lowe, and tonight we're getting into a cylinder job with the base as well. We have a cylinder down on the ground here that's going to be bored out to 1 3/8 from 1 inch. The 1 inch pin had broken, so we're going to upgrade the pin size. And in order to do that, we need to set this plate up on the mill and bore out these holes to accept bushings, and the bushings will accept the 1 3/8 pin. So in this here and this here, there's a hole that goes through, passes through, so we have everything dialed up pretty close to what we need it to be, and we're just going to bring the head around and move some things around so that we can bore this out. We're probably going to bore it out to about 1 5/8 hole. Then we're going to build 2 bushings for each end, and they're going to be pressed in at 1 5/8, and then on the ID of those, they'll have 1 3/8 for the pin to slide through. So I got this clamped up on the mill with 2 Bessie clamps, and we're going to move some stuff around here and get to boring out both these holes. So stick with us, this should be a pretty interesting video. All right, here we go. Okay, so on the Excellos and Bridgeports and stuff, I have 2 bolts on this side, and then we have 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 2 center ones are the ones that we had to loosen, and then that should allow the head here, should allow this to be able to swing over that way, and then the other 2 bolts on this side tighten this gib, and then the handle that's supposed to be like right there at this moment is broken, and work has been busy, so we just haven't got back to it, but we can make that work to extend this out towards us and put us over top of these holes here. Okay, clean the mill off. One thing I did remember when I did try to pull this out was it's not that it has a hard time moving, but in the space that I'm at, I can't get in around too easily to get things. And since that handle is broke, it makes it a lot harder to be able to get in there to get things. It's not even a handle, it has a hex head, and then you use the wrench, but the wrench ended up breaking it. So what I prefer to do typically is this is just a brass jack, and then I'll bring this head down and clamp it in that position roughly, and then I like to actually just take it up a couple thou to take the weight of the head off of it. There. That's probably too much. And that seems to help in pulling it out, and I should be able to, in theory. Okay, so we've pulled the head out as far as we can on the rack. Now we're just going to try and position everything, hopefully, so that we can get this over that hole. I guess it is going to work for us. This setup should do. We're roughly in the center until we dial it in, but I'm pretty happy with how we're looking here. We got lots of room to work in and out, back and forth. I think we're going to be all right. This should be a pretty decent setup. So I'll clamp everything down, and then we'll look on dialing things up. Okay, so I've leveled out the platform here within the hole. I'm pretty close. I had to shim the back side of this to kind of tilt it down and get it level. Now I got the last word indicator here, and I'm running within probably a couple thou, so we're just gonna pull that in tighter, and then we'll zero that, and that'll be our starting point, and then hopefully our tooling and everything will work out that we can do this. So we'll see. So at the moment I think we're running out a couple thou here anyway. Zero there. +3. +3.5. So we can move this. Zero that. We should be able to move this about 1 7/10, 1 8/10 possibly. One point 1 2/10 there, 2 there, 1 4/10. 6. As we tighten the locks, everything's going to change there. So we're within way under half a thou, probably within 3/10 all the way around that. So I'm happy with that. We can get some tooling set up, and I figure we're just going to bore these bushings out as we go. We'll get the boring head up in here and the boring bar set up and see what it looks like. Okay, so we're set up. We got our boring head in, we got our boring bar on, ground down, a braze tip carbide. That should do the trick to knock those out. Alright, so we're getting down to final size. Everything's gone great so far, so we're just going to take another probably 20 thou more out of it, and that will put us at 1 5/8 and start on to the bushings to get into it. Okay, so I just took a spring cut back up here. I may have a couple thou left to go, but I should be right on, I hope. So we're going to check her out here. Yeah, that's good enough for me. 1.624.5 roughly. Well, that turned out great. I'm happy with that. So at this point I've deburred the holes and I've already made the bushings to go in them, slightly oversized, so I'm just going to heat them up with this MAP gas torch just to warm this up. The bushings are in the freezer at the moment, so hopefully everything will just fit in there nice. Now that warmed up, I'm going to grab the bushings, install them, and then we'll bore it out to the proper size. There's one. Sorry I didn't have the camera on, but we did get that one in place. It actually went better than that when I threw a bit more heat at it. Yeah, she popped up in place. Everything's tight. So we're going to set this back into our hole. We're still zeroed. And then we're going to skim out the pin size. I'm going to start with a 5 thou cut, clean everything up, and see where we're at. It's a very light cut. Okay, we got the holes in the plate bored out, so they ended up around 1.37, and we're going to bring the pin down to about 1.367, and that should give us about 3 thou clearance. So I took the liberty of already mounting the pin in the chuck here already. We're going to take a skim, put a center in it, stick it out to length, and make our cut. After that, that'll give us a smooth surface for a pin to ride on our new bushings. The bushings should last longer, our pin should last longer, and possibly if the pin wears out or the bushings start wearing, you can throw a full stock of 1.375 or 1 3/8 in, and that'll be able to alleviate that problem at a later date. As for now, we're just going to take a skim off of this pin, drill a hole in it for a cotter key or that, and probably weld a washer on the other side just to allow it to be captive. Alright, we'll pull this out and get it set up. Our pin's going to be at about 6.5. So, don't need any more sticking out than what we need to cut. So that's 6 3/4. That'll give us lots. Always bring your carriage back to the end of your workpiece to make sure that you're not going to have to readjust your tailstock afterwards. I got about a 1/4 inch gap here between there, which is more than enough. I'm going to lock that down anyway. That should treat me pretty good. And then I'll bring my center out. And that should set me up for my tools. I pushed in a little bit, but I know I already have a little bit for it to push. Yeah, that's locked in better. Tight there. Lock everything in place. With our new readout, we can just come down, touch off here, 0 or Y, and we're ready to cut. And that seemed to clean up really well. There's one spot in it, but it's very slight. It is starting to cut it. Make sure we don't have much taper. Which we do not. We're looking really good on our taper. I'm going to take 2 thou here. And that really cleaned that up for the most part really well. Okay, let's pop this out, test fit it, and then we're on to boring out the cylinder end to accept the new pin size. We also have to drill this hole in it, cut it off, and weld the cap on the end of it. Feels nothing. That's pretty tight. Just slips in there nicely. That should work out just fine. So I'm going to get this down off of here, bring the cylinder up, that you guys haven't even seen yet, I don't think. Just remember, kids, lift this back. One of these days I'll just get a shop crane, right? Like, that would make sense. Alright, I'm all about the sketchier the better. So I raised it up here with some V blocks, and then we got a couple 1, 2, 3 blocks holding our setup there, Doesn't really look like it, but the distribution is down through there, just through that line. It keeps me on the table, clamp down there, and then of course on the front side we went with a sketchy strap clamp, and we got our jack underneath of it to keep everything in check. And now I'm just going to tap it around, get it close to running parallel with the cutter, and then yeah, we might actually find a shorter cutter to get some of that chatter out of it if we can cut down that far with it. Okay, so this hole is oblonged about 70 thou. Checked it, we're about 1 inch 70 thou over this way. This way is actually close to like 120 or something. So we're just going to take our first cut out of it and see how everything goes. We're on about a third pass. I'm running at 200 RPM now, and probably around 6 thou per revolution. So I've slowed the feed down, kept the speed the same, and I didn't change the cut size, but I'm just taking a spring cut. Might even do two just to make sure that I'm at the right diameter before I sneak up to what I want for the final size. I think we're to size there, really. I think we got ourselves something right there. I'll deburr this and then she's ready to go. Guess this is the moment of truth. Nice fit. Remember, lift with your back. So the other side to this project too is that we have to cut these off, build up new ones, and then weld those on as well. Okay, so we got the pin with the cap on it, and the hole there ready for a pin. And right now I got these plates set up on this pin. It's probably going to be a tight fit once they're welded, but we can always just buff those out a little bit. But got her all set up so that she can just be tacked together. I think that's going to be alright. I think it just ties it together. It gets welded on the bottom anyway. So that should be good for this project. Well, that wraps this job up. Went pretty good. I'm pretty happy. No real complaints, no real issues. A lot of time and setup. As usual, everything's 90% setup, 10% work. Pins all worked out good, or a little bit of welding worked out well. The customer will be happy. I'm happy. So, until next time, if you like what you saw, please throw a like down there, or a comment, or subscribe. We could really use it. Our channel is starting to grow a little bit. And, as always, until next time, see you later, Buzzy.